Riders, crew, motorcycles, umbrellas all out on the track in their starting positions, which means it's time to get down to Hannah.
I'm here with yesterday's third place finisher, Bryce Prince. Bryce, you're still riding the high from that podium yesterday. Have you made any changes setup-wise for this afternoon?
You know, we were going to try some setup changes this morning, but it was wet out, so we actually didn't go out this morning due to not having enough tires. So, you know, no track time today except for the race. We have made a few changes to the electronics on the bike just to try to see if we can get the tire to live a little longer and our pace to be better towards the end of the race. Yeah, no, we're excited. I think I just need to get a good start today, and we should be right up there with these guys again.
Thanks, Bryce. Best of luck.
Incredible what his mindset was before getting here. Geometry changes, electronics, and shock, all they've been focusing on all weekend, and it paid off yesterday.
Yeah, and the dynamic of him saying that they don't have enough tires. You know, we're in this class, they get 12 tires for the weekend. Doesn't matter how you kind of use them, but there was a few of the guys, riders this morning that weren't able to go out because they didn't want to sticker their warm-up tires because they wouldn't have a new set for the race. So when you hear Bryce talking about tire allocations and things, that's what it's all about, and he's exactly right. He needs to get a good start. If he gets a good start, I think he can run up there with these guys, no question.
Back down to Hannah.
I'm here with yesterday's race winner, Valentin DeBeese. Just talking to one of his crew guys really quickly. But Valentin, will this be the weekend we'll see back-to-back race wins for you? What do you think?
I think that's a good idea, for sure. And yesterday was a good race, and honestly, we didn't change anything on the bike because we didn't have a chance to try it this morning. So I'm going with the same bike that I know. I know exactly how my bike is working, so I will try to be as smooth as yesterday and put some good pace and see how we ended. But I'm sure those guys will try to push some more instead of yesterday. So we see, and I hope it will be a fun race.
Thank you, Valentin.
Yeah, and there's nobody I wouldn't bet against him today at all. He just looks so solid, and to lead a race from the front like he did yesterday, Greg, is very difficult to do. But he just kept pounding out the laps. That said, it might even play into his hands. He has a bike that works really well for him, and any of the guys that were trying to catch up to him, you've heard both our two guys that we've interviewed now talk about not really getting a chance to really test the changes that they want to make. That could work into Valentin's hands.
One more time to Hannah.
Now, we didn't get a chance to talk to you, JD, yesterday after the race. Tell us a little bit about your battle with Bryce and what's the plan for today?
Yeah, the race yesterday definitely didn't go as planned. We had a few issues, and I couldn't push the bike exactly how I wanted to, but so I decided just to try to ride a smart race and bring it home third, and that was until Bryce decided that wasn't the plan. So it was fun to race with him and have somebody new up front, and yeah. So going into today, I think we have the issues fixed, and the bike felt great this morning for the one lap I did in the rain. So yeah, it's race day, and it's dry, it's hot, and we're gonna go for it.
All right, best of luck. Thank you, JD.
And I know he'll go for it, Greg. Again, you know, we found out afterwards he did have a couple small little issues yesterday that definitely were playing into the hands of some of the other guys to where it made it to where JD couldn't get up front. That won't happen today. He's ready to go.
And the sun is starting to peek out, and word from Dunlop is that the track temperature has risen to about 97 degrees. So it's a good thing for all these competitors on the racetrack, as you know, for those of you that are, I don't know, from Europe, 36°C, I think is the actual temperature and how they measure that. So with the sun out, things are starting to change ever so slightly in the favor of all these racers because more temperature in the tire can be more grip here at Pit Race. Hayden Gillum trying to turn this pole into a win.
Interesting race for Hayden yesterday because he was right there. He kind of then he kind of got stuck behind JD for a couple laps, and that allowed DeBeese just to get that distance. But Hayden was bringing that gap back down towards the end there, down to a second, but it just didn't seem like he could quite get that last little bit. It'll be interesting to see today to see if they can do it. How about Richie Escalante? Had an accident yesterday.
Richie? He sure did. And talking to Richie, he's a little sore, but he's okay. He saw the guys in front of him getting away a little bit, and in the corner where he crashed, the data said 7K quicker in that corner, and that actually caused a little bit more of the shock to get into the stroke and started to cause the pumping. Yeah. So, you know, that data's kind of telling the story, and he knows when he pushes like that, he's got to just push a little less and do it more consistently. But 7K into a corner is pretty fast.
Well,
extra
he's
speed.
young and he wants it. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
he's hungry for it. So Hayden Gillum, our pole sitter, at a 1:44.2. DeBees second, Bryce Prince third. Then we got JD Beach, Richie Escalante, Jason Aguilar. Be interested to see if he can get a better start today. Not get shuffled back so far to where he can get up in that front. Braden Nort, another one of our victims of a little bit of a crash yesterday. Michael Gilbert, Anthony Mazziato round out row 3. Row 4, Nick McFadden, Corey West, and Daytona Anderson. On back to row 5, Ashton Yates, Xavier Zayat, local guy, Lucas Silva. Then we got Miles Thornton, Benjamin Smith, and JC Camacho. Row 7, Jarrett Nassani, Caroline Olsen, Steven Dietz. And then we've got CJ LaRoche, Fernando Silva, and Nolan Lampkin rounding out row 8. I believe that is, I think that's our field, Greg. But yeah, we got a couple more rows. I thought we had 30 in this class. Joe Giannato, Mariko Roque, Gary again.
Yeah.
And I've talked to Gary
Jankowski.
before. Timothy Wilson, Andrew Bowen, Tyler King.
So that'll round out those 30 riders in this field. And you can obviously see it's an up and down start here. Doesn't really affect it. It kind of looks more dramatic, I think, from that shot, don't you think, Jay?
Yeah, no question, Greg. Yep. But it's good to see the sun's out. It's great to see that this is the first time that we've actually seen the sun out this morning. So,
well, there is a look at a rider who, in conversations with him, this Hayden Gillum, by the way, if you see over the MotoAmerica beIN Sports umbrella, he wanted us to make sure that we knew that in his contract with Ridiculous Racing, which is a 2-year deal, and next year will be the 2nd year, that if he gets a factory ride, he's got a way out of it. So we haven't really brought his name up in terms of the conversation about that Yoshimura factory ride open, but I think he really wants his name on the lips of some people as well. That's how much everyone in this paddock is looking for one ride. And, Don Sakakura and the entire folks from Yoshimura and Suzuki have a lot of work to do to figure out who they want to offer that ride to.
Yeah, well, it would be nice if we could get a few more rides available, in the sense that get a few more manufacturers involved and get the chance, because we've got some great riders in this class right now that could definitely jump up, and there's no reason at all why Hayden's name shouldn't be on that list as well. So, and you know what, he's gone through the trenches. He's done all the work by himself to get to where he's at. The Ridiculous guys have provided him an even better platform than probably he's ever had. Great team, good guys, and they've worked hard for him, and you've seen the effort he's put in this year. Hey, if he got on another great team with a good group around him on a superbike, there's no question. I think I know where we'd find him in those races.
Number 95 is JD Beach. It's the middle left part of your screen. And before yesterday's race, JD hadn't finished lower than 2nd place all season, so it was JD's first time off the podium in 4th spot. Hardly any damage done to his championship hopes. If JD can finish off today with 100 points in hand, he will actually roll away with the number 1 plate, the national championship, a couple rounds early. Right now, it's 93 points. Hayden Gillum keeping his hopes alive at the moment. So in order for JD Beach to do that, he'd have to basically kind of reverse the order of how they finished yesterday in terms of himself and Hayden Gillum. So JD Beach not really focused on that. He told me he's just wanting to win races.
Yeah.
And it has been a strange weekend, Jay. You kind of talked about it, at the opening of the show for JD Beach. Clutch problems on Friday. Yesterday during the race, after lap 5, they had a little bit of something going on that JD just couldn't keep the pace.
Yep.
And next thing you know, JD Beach is 4th. And then, of course, rain this morning because they wanted to try some stuff and the dampness this morning. So we'll have to see what all these competitors have for themselves and the rest of the field in terms of being able to make adjustments or taking a risk.
Yeah, but even with all that, JD's still able to run the pace. I think he ran the fastest lap of the race yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, as well, 44 flat. And you can see this great sign out there by our fans. And it's great to see Nicky still so represented. I mean, he'll never obviously be forgotten. It's great. Still a lot of riders with Nicky's sticker on their helmet.
Of course.
But, JD is, it's been a strange weekend. But when it comes together, we know what happens. When it all comes together for JD Beach, he's winning races. And today, if he was able to somehow get in front of Valentin and separate himself from Hayden, we would be crowning a new 600 champion today. But I think Bryce Prinz will have something to say for that. And so a couple other guys, hopefully they can go with this group.
I know one of the riders who's wanting to put himself up in the mix as well is Braden Wart. And talking to the number 30, the Canadian Braden, who's kind of leading this warm-up lap right now. Jason, I don't know if you know this, but September 4th, Braden starts at university.
Wow.
And his plan is to be a dentist.
That's great.
So he's got 8 years of school, and talking with him, I was like, well, that's a little conflicting with racing, Braden. And he said, well, you know, if for some reason he ended up getting a factory ride at some point, he would consider taking a year off from school. But Braden Ort going, you know, he, by the way, he broke his foot only 15 days ago, and he's out there riding.
Where did he do that?
At the racetrack.
Oh, he did?
In the crash, yeah. It was the outside right part of his foot. And, you know, he's been cleared by Dr. Rossi, and they see that it's healing
That's
up.
Sonoma.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he also had a stiff neck, and his left hand was hurt, you know, in the crash yesterday. So Braden Ort dealing with a bunch of stuff. But I found it very interesting as we were talking about university and how he's going to train. He's going to university in British Columbia. You know, 4 years of this, and then, you know, undergrad, and then he wants to be a dentist.
That's great. You better take care of them hands there, Braden.
Yeah,
you know, the other guy I talked to this weekend, Anthony Mazziato, he just graduated high school with a 3.8 GPA.
Amazing.
And he's another one that's also got some thoughts and things in his future, what he wants to do, and some big ideas, which is great. And it's great to see these guys finishing school, wanting to go on to university, that kind of thing. And you know, obviously Braden, he's a very intelligent young man.
He graduated high school, by the way, with a 92 average out of 100. So basically, in his entire high school career, A- average. A very intelligent young man, especially if he wants to go on to dentistry. All right. So, but now the focus for the number 30 Braden Ort and his Toon Racing team is get back on the podium, get a result. You know, in terms of riders, Jason, that have finished first or second in this championship, it's only been J.D. Beach, Hayden Gillum, Valentin DeBees that have won, and only those three and Braden Ort that have even finished in the second spot. But a lot of podium finishers. But first and second position in the Supersport class, very coveted. Lights going on. In a moment, they're going to go off, and we're going to get Supersport race number 2 from Pit Race underway. Here we go, a good launch. Hayden Gillum got a good
Great start for Hayden, and also Bryce Prince tremendously. Or is that JD that just crossed over?
Yeah, JD
crossed over, but Bryce is in fourth, so a much better start from Bryce. He's got those guys in front that he needed to have in front of him. Let's see if JD is able to get in Hayden's draft and pull up alongside as they go into turn 3. And here you go, Greg. Our points leader is going to lead him down to turn 3. Braden Ort trying to do something with Bryce Prince, and just got in there a little bit crossed up, but made it through there okay.
So JD comfortable on the brakes, is able to take the lead. The Ridiculous crew working on edge grip. It was just that edge grip and that drivability that they were looking for Hayden Gillum, and they didn't have that time this morning. So now Hayden Gillum loses another position as Valentin DeBees. Oh, no, and I say that. Wow.
He's got chopped off a little bit there, but now, you know, DeBees wants to get to the front and control the race. Even behind them, we saw some big moves back there between Corey West and Braden Ort, as well as Mazziato was trying to get by both of them. This guy here has got to be a lot happier. These are the 4 guys that went 1, 2, 3, 4 yesterday, but this time Bryce has got those guys in his gun sights right off the bat. And we're going to see now if anybody else can go. You can see Braden Ort, Corey West is there as well.
And one of the big changes for the 74 bike, Riders Law KWR Sports entry there for Bryce Prince, was they made a change in suspension. Went to Oleans, then he went for a test, and it really has been, this is the 3rd round where they've had the Oleans inserts in the front and the shock, and it's given Bryce Prince the feel that he needs to be able to start making adjustments to the geometry of the motorcycle.
And JD's got to feel pretty confident right now, especially on this first lap. What a perfect first lap he has ran. You can see these 4 guys have broke away from that big battle. For 5th behind him, I see Nick McFadden. It looks like Aguilar's even in that group as well.
A little deep for JD Beach on that one. Still able to get it back down to the apex. So JD trying to do what he normally does. If he's out front, he tries to snap. And he's sniffing the draft that the riders behind him has. Xavier Zayat, unfortunately, down.
And it looks like we got a red flag, Greg. So Zayat's gone down somewhere. There it is. It's in the chicane as well. But shocking start for Escalante. On our screen over the first lap, it looked like he was back a fair ways. Our screen has just changed now, so I'd have to get a little bit of confirmation on that. But because right now on our screen, it looks like it's gone back to the original grid. So something also happened to Escalante on that opening lap. But man, Xavier's had another tough weekend. And he was just laying there just on the outside of the chicane. And we've seen it, Greg. It's so wet out there. Even before the rains came, we saw some guys kind of crashed in that chicane before. The grass is so treacherous out there, it's kind of muddy. And as soon as these slick tires get introduced to that wet grass and mud, it sends the bike. There's really nothing you can do. You can see Ashton Yates is also down. It's never good when you see an arm hanging like Ashton's right now. It looks like he's, I don't know if he's just bumming or.
I think he's knee,
he's looking over at his
like
bike
his leg or something.
He's okay. He's okay. Good.
Yeah.
And it also looks like, I'm not sure where that is. If it's the chicane.
He crashed earlier today.
He tipped over in the chicane, didn't he?
In the Liqui-Moly Junior Cup race earlier on today, Yates he had the lead in the race and was ripping through the chicane and got the front tire off, just off the inside, and crashed out of that race.
And I can't tell if that's last corner or if. Yeah, I think it looks like he might be in the last corner. Greg is on the outside. So
Ashton trying to get that bike fired up. Ashton Yates, one of our competitors, he's 13th in the championship, but he also, remember Jason, the second race of the year, Ashton had a podium finish. He finished third at Road Atlanta, his home track for sure. So red flag conditions right now, which means that there's either something on the track or a rider or a motorcycle in the impact zone. So we stop the race for now. They'll head back to pit lane, and then we will get this going once again. So we will take a commercial break here on BN Sports. On the other side, we'll get this red flag sorted out, and we'll come back to pit race for the continuation of Supersport. So welcome back to pit race for Supersport action, MotoAmerica. This is round 8 of 10. So basically we're here this weekend at pit race, and then we're off for a weekend, and we go a weekend, off for a weekend, and then we wrap up the season. So a hectic schedule for the championship as we round out 2018. So red flag conditions, the track has been cleared, everyone's been taken care of, and now we're on quick start procedures, Jason. So sighting lap here. Then what's going to happen, since I know you don't know anything about this sport, is we're going to go, they'll take the grid positions. Yep. So in this particular case, it's going to be a full grid restart, so the same way, but the procedure's in place in the rule book. So they're just going to go take the grid. They'll be allowed to have one crew person out there. As you can see,
we're going to miss a couple guys, I think, though, Greg, because I think I saw Ashton go behind pit wall.
Oh, did you?
Yep, in our during our break, and I know they went out and got Xavier from this area right here. That grass is so treacherous. You can see we've had a few guys run off there this weekend.
Now you've had a chance to ride this course last year. Is it that you carry too much speed and you can't finish the chicane? Is it a visual thing? Like, why do you think we've seen so many people run off on the exit of the chicane?
When I rode here, Greg, I didn't actually get to ride with the chicane. They did
in
it,
my face, yeah.
They did it. Yeah, well, no, but they did it after we. That was part of the reason I wanted to ride it. I wanted to ride it so that when you and I did our broadcast, I could have at least an idea where the track goes and kind of what these guys go through a little bit. But when you have, I've ridden through chicanes very similar to the one that they have here. If you clip the one on the left, the curbing on them, they're a little bit high. They're not as low as some might think. So that definitely will make the front end do something weird if you clip the curbing on the left, and that might be just enough to where you can't get the bike back over to the right. And then literally, and you think to yourself, all right, I'm going to run it straight and go through the grass. But the problem is the grass isn't really just grass. It's mud, and your tires sink into that stuff. And really, you're along for the ride at that point. It's especially on these bikes.
Yeah, and there's no like sampling it. There's no giving it a test early on. So that's the first experience you're going to have dealing with that situation.
That's exactly right. And the bike just kind of does what it wants to do, and it kind of tosses you. And when you land with your body in the mud, it can kind of stop you. You know, it's different if it's firm underneath and the grass is wet. But anyways, we're past that. We got this guys, got them all re-gridded to go. They're going to go out on their warm-up lap, thinking about what we just saw. If you look at Bryce Prince, got a great start, kind of got off there with those guys. JD Beach came from the second row and led into turn 3. So when you think about it, there's a couple guys that got really good starts. I think that I'm looking, Greg, to see if you see Escalante. There goes Richie. Richie goes over the hill now. Something happened to him, so he's going to get a huge break because I think he was quite a bit further back. That could also be that he saw the red flag earlier than anybody and had his arm up, and some people went by him as they came across the lines.
Might have been. But Richie Escalante, he's the number 54 we're talking about on that Quicksilver Hudson Motorcycles entry out of Mexico City, Mexico. So Escalante, middle part of your screen. Yeah, we didn't quite see him up in the mix as we did yesterday. So he'll be looking for a good restart. I'm sure there's a few riders in this field that are really looking forward to it. JD Beach, of course, having his advantage erased at this point. If Valentin DeBees can get a good start, either lead it or second spot, then we're going to really see the speed that the M4 X-Star Suzuki rider has compared to yesterday.
That's right. Going back to Richie Escalante, I look at certain riders and I see somebody like him and I think to myself that he's kind of in that area right now where he's faster than the rest, but he's just not quite consistently on a week in, week out getting up to those guys. And so he's in that area where some mistakes can be made. So I actually really rate Richie. I think he's a tremendous rider. And those guys did a good job last night of getting his bike back together. And hopefully they have a bike underneath him that he can maybe learn something from that first couple laps. Like I said, the warm-up this morning got me out. But when you're racing and you're coming through, and you and I have talked about it this year about who's the next guy, Richie's always been one of the guys at the top of our list. The Escalantes, the Bryce Princes, and Nick McFadden's. Who else is going to go with those guys? Richie has this year been on the podium, which is great. But being really close to them, like Bryce was yesterday, only 5 seconds off, I think Richie would be like one of those next guys.
Grid forming up after this warm-up lap, so that means that it's time to get this race going. Western Pennsylvania. The race was scheduled for 16 laps, and MotoAmerica, after the red flag, we're going to drop that down to 12. As Hayden Gillum takes his #1 spot on the grid on that ridiculous racing Yamaha.
I was looking back to see if they'd done any reshuffling on the grid because it doesn't look like they have. So there's 2 open spots there. So guys from the rows behind should get a little bit better jump. Benjamin Smith back there. Let's see.
Revs up, clutches out, and turn 1, JD Beach, another big move to cross over. And it's these top 3 as they bend it on in. It's going to be Hayden Gillum.
Yep. It's almost like a carbon copy, except for Richie Escalante got ahead of Bryce Prince. That's the only difference between the top 3. And it's going to look exactly the same with JD Beach going up underneath Hayden Gillum again as they head down into turn 3. And Gillum's going to turn it back underneath him. And he gets the job done. So JD got in there just a little bit too deep. And now look, this is really strange to see guys going side by side down through there. But Valentin DeBees jumps on that little tiny mistake that JD made at the top of the hill. Now, is he going to go right after Gillum? It looks like he is, Greg. Pulls up alongside. Remember how good he was out of there yesterday.
Oh, yeah. So Hayden Gillum's going to go on the brakes. Oh, and man, Valentin DeBees, he had a front-end moment there. It just snapped on him for a second, so he had to gather it back up. So it is the 69 of Hayden Gillum, ridiculous racing Yamaha, to the point.
Gillum just came right back at him. He just literally said, I'm going to come right back at him. Valentin got the great drive up over turn 6. You see JD there. Bryce Prince is also disposed of Escalante early. So Bryce, again, a good start, gets racy early, gets by the guy he needs to get by, try to go with these 4 again.
Can't really emphasize the importance of a great first lap. Part of the tools in the toolbox if you want to be a front-running racer, and that's exactly what Bryce Prince is up to at the moment.
Oh, look at Bryce. He's even having a look now at JD. So the first 4 guys from yesterday have a breakaway already. These have been the 4 kind of class of the field so far. Escalante back there in 5th, and it looked like Corey West made a great start as well, Greg. It looked like he was up to 6th already. Have to check our monitors. Valentin DeBees goes past Hayden Gillum. Look at Hayden trying to fire right back. Does not want to give DeBees a chance to get into a rhythm and get into that like he did yesterday and lead from the front.
Whoa, JD Beach up and out of the saddle for a moment as his bike fights him as he goes over the crest of that hill. 3 wide they go. Beach is going to try to slide underneath. Nope, 3rd spot. So one of the things that Valentin was talking to Hannah about top of the broadcast was about being smooth, Jason, and right now he can't. I mean, I'm watching the front end of his motorcycle, how he's applying the throttle, even under hard braking, the rear end of his Suzuki moving around a bit. So Valentin DeBees.
But look at the drive. He kills Hayden out of there. I bet you, but if you went down there, look at Gillum just going to let go of the lever and just pull across. And that's that he had the line all the way. DeBees was up alongside of him, and he's just letting go of the lever and letting the bike roll in there. I would bet that Gillum's coming up out of turn 6 in 3rd gear, and I think that DeBees might be going back to 2nd and getting that initial jump off the turn, just from what I can tell. because I don't think that the Suzuki quite has the torque that the R6 has, especially going back uphill like that. So that might be why DeBees is getting such a better drive.
Hayden Gillim continues to lead the way. Ridiculous Racing Yamaha M4 X-Star Suzuki's. Valentin DeBees out of France. Yesterday's race winner challenging for the #1 spot again. JD Beach, your championship points leader on that Monster Energy Yamaha Extended Services Graves Yamaha. And by the way, you're looking at 3 Yamahas and a Suzuki in the mix. The first 2 are Graves Yamaha machines under Chuck Graves' program. And so when it comes to working on electronics, they have the ability to have Chuck go and plug that computer in. As for Bryce Prince, that's his effort. That's 100% his and his team's.
Oh, he's doing it again. He's getting drafted down the front straight, and then Hayden's just letting off the brakes. But yes, exactly right, Greg.
A lot of confidence in the front end, though, for Hayden Gillim right now.
100%.
A lot.
Yep.
Even in that corner. He's got history in that corner.
And look at this. Now JD Beach pulls up alongside of Valentin and gets through on him. But yeah, the ridiculous bike is just handling perfect. He's just runs a little bit wide on his entry there, but it doesn't hurt him too much. Still able to get the bike turning. We almost saw DeBees and JD side by side down that section again the whole time. Bryce is sitting there just watching it.
This is as close as you like it. JD Beach looks poised to attack Hayden Gillim. He doesn't do it.
You know the hard part, here we go. DeBees going to try to square up JD as they go into that tight, the next left in the S. JD's going to try to get back by him. Let's see if they're able to do it. Yeah,
incredible racing
really
for second spot. Inside out, setting up that corner. And a good move by Valentin DeBees. But, oh! Ouch! And up and down he goes!
Oh, he's out, Greg. If you could see it, you could definitely see Valentin hit his head.
Oh.
So you could definitely see that. That's a big high side and that little fast kink. I wouldn't doubt. Let's see if they, it's going to be a hard one to keep the race going, only because I know where he fell. It's hard to get personnel to where he's at. So we'll see what they do here.
So Valentin DeBees, big crash, and we know that Valentin is starting to move around ever so slightly, but a huge crash.
Yep, that's a big one, Greg, and he's getting his gloves off. You can see him doing that. So it's just a matter of if they're able to get him to the spot. Let's see if he's kind of getting himself moving a little bit here.
So continuing at the front of this race, it is Hayden Gillim on the 69 who leads the way. So now it's an all Yamaha affair.
Yeah, it's turn 11. It's a fast kink. These guys are all concerned because they're all looking at it as well. Now, what you see, these two guys just got pretty racy with each other. He's going to tip it in here, and he loses the rear really early. And that's a horrible kind of high side. It kind of high sides you off the inside, but when you get hooked on your bike like that, it makes it to where your feet are kind of the first things to hit, and that's why you saw that recoil where he hits his head against the ground. I'm so pumped to see him up, at least sitting up, and that's a good sign. As of now, we've still kept this race going.
All right, so up front we go. Once again, it's now an all Yamaha affair as the M4 X-Star Suzuki rider had an early exit out of this race. Looked like he was just a little wide, too, on his line when he applied that throttle. There was a little bit of rain this morning. We talked about it in warm-up, but not a lot of rubber out there. Yellow flags flying in this area.
That's the spot that it happened in that fast kink, and great to see this. I'm so happy to see him up. A little staggering, obviously.
Yeah, he's woozy, but at least he's able to walk. And so good to see Valentin DeBees up and walking on this one. Tough time of year, Jason, to be injured like that as well. We talked about how compact the schedule is from this point forward. Not a lot of time to recover. All right.
And just that little bit that they were messing with each other, him and JD, you know, Valentin, once he got that position, he probably thought, okay, I got to close this gap back up. And that's because of the pressure that Hayden has been applying. Hayden Gillim is tired of not being on the podium. We saw another bike off to the left there. That looked like possibly Benjamin Smith off to the left. I saw some yellow flags as well. But here you go. JD Beach comes up underneath Hayden as they head down into turn 1.
By the way, the fastest lap of the race just clicked off by Bryce Prince, a 144.588 for Prince. So he is on the gas as well as JD takes over the spot. Hayden, we know, likes to fight back, but sometimes JD's got something up his sleeve. He gets the bike turned. Oh, man, Bryce is looking so good right now. Well, I think if Hayden shows any signs of slowing, Prince has got to get around Hayden, lickety-split, and go after JD.
Here's the problem you have. You saw JD actually drafted Gillim. I don't think anybody really wants to mess with Hayden too much in the braking zones right now because he's so fast. There's Benjamin Smith. Really rough weekend this weekend for our defending KTM 390 Cup champion from last year. But Bryce is right there, and he knows he's going to have a big plus on his board as far as who is behind him and how far back they are. But Gillum, I think if he can get up anywhere close in the braking zone, and like you said, Greg, these are both Graves Supersport bikes, so there shouldn't be too much of a difference other than their size.
Yeah, Hayden Gillum naturally, I mean, he's fit, but he's just naturally a much bigger rider than JD Beach.
JD really closes off the entry to that right-hander coming down the hill, and you see that little gap he pulls doing that. He just can kind of get his bike turned and get to the apex a little bit more. Hayden holds it over to the left in that little. JD misses the chicane.
Got to give up that position.
Good on him. He let Hayden go by, but he knows he can get a good drive out of here. He might be able to draft. I don't think he's going to be close enough this lap. Just lost a little bit of momentum. He did the smart thing though, Greg. There's no sense in trying to tip a bike into a corner if you don't think that you can absolutely make it. Now let's see if he's able to do anything with Hayden when they get into the braking zone.
Got to be hard to refocus after that maneuver. I would think, Jay. It takes at least a couple corners, no?
Yeah, no, for sure. You make a little mistake like that, and it definitely plays on your mind for a minute. So here you go. But I mean, JD knows he can draft Hayden. He's done it both starts. He's done it down the front straightaway as well.
JD gets it to the bottom part of the racetrack in terms of getting close to the apex on that one. He had a miscue earlier in the race. So JD Beach back to the front and did it on the throttle, just out driving Hayden Gillum a couple corners ago. So now if Hayden has anything for JD, is JD, just like that, in 5 corners, already starts to pull out 3 or 4 bike lengths. There's no doubt the strongest one of the brakes is Hayden Gillum right now. Here's a replay, Jay.
So one of the great things about this chicane that's built is if you do kind of make a mistake, and you see the bike trying to back in a little bit on him there, he didn't feel comfortable tipping it in. It's great that we got a little bit of runoff. We can go straight. There's no grass or anything to run into. And he just gave that position up. But then he came right back about 4 turns later and was able to draft Hayden down that straightaway and go up underneath him, coming down into turn 3 or coming up into turn 3. And all the while, Bryce Prince really hasn't let these guys get away. They're kind of just all doing the same lap times. Now we're back in that spot where JD made the mistake before. And I doubt we'll see that ever again from him in this race. But you see how the bike's a little bit more steady into there that lap.
Yeah, I think he knew you just don't need to rush in there that much, making that mistake and giving up that position for what? I mean, you've talked about it before. It's understanding where you make time on the racetrack. Fast through the fast stuff, slow through the slow stuff.
That's right, and you know, that chicane is very tricky. It's got a tricky exit to it too, especially with the conditions on the outside edge of the track. But the problem that I think Hayden's going to have is he going to be able to draft up to the back of JD to try to outbrake him going into the chicane? Now look at all the bikes are moving around quite a bit up over the top of that hill right now. And 45, what was it, Greg? 45 won the last lap through. So they're only half a second slower than his personal best. Yesterday, they ran 44 flat in the first 2 or 3 laps of the race.
44.5, the best registered lap, and that was back on lap number 4 by Bryce Prince. So Prince definitely has the ability to do it. The question is the condition of the tires always, right? Because you've got to be able to do the lap times and manage the tires, because it's nice and flashy that you have the fastest lap of the race. But if you're not able to do the time at the end of the race, you're not going to be standing on the top step of the box. That's
exactly right. Now, these guys through the S section that time have pulled a significant another 3 or 4 tenths over Bryce. And, you know, Bryce is probably going by and seeing plus 10 on his board. By the way, that battle for 4th right now, Anthony Mazziato has moved himself into 4th with Aguilar and Corey West. All those guys look like they're probably tied pretty close together. This battle at the front is pretty intriguing, but now it just looks like they've just broke Bryce a little bit. It's so hard to make up the time on guys like these two in front. Here you go. Here's the big battle that I was talking about. We've got at the front of this right now, Mazziato. Then we got Aguilar, Corey West, Nick McFadden, and then just behind him, it looks like Ort's in that group.
He is.
Probably Michael Gilbert.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Miles Thornton's on the back. He might be on the back of that as well.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, there's Miles Thornton, and it looks like Daytona Anderson.
Daytona Anderson.
So this is a battle for 4th right now with all these guys going after each other a fair bit. Anthony Mazziato won both races here last year in our 600 Superstock class. And of course, we got our other ridiculous racing rider, Jason Aguilar, our former 600 Superstock champion from a year ago.
So Mazziato.
There you go, Nick McFadden trying to look for a way through. Gets up underneath Corey West.
Good aggressive move from Nick McFadden. So good job by the Kentucky native. He is number 18 on that M4 Med-Age Suzuki. Of course, Anthony Mazziato on that YCRS Mazziato racing machine. 61 leading the battle in this one. And you can see in left part of your screen, this is for 4th spot. And TSE's Corey West, who's already got a couple of podiums so far, his credit 3 of them this season, including one on the TSE racing machine. Back there, number 36, Braden Nort. Of course, we talked about him. Toon Racing, the Canadian. So what a battle we have going on.
This is quite the battle right now, for sure. And if we get Braden and Michael Gilbert up there just a little bit closer.
You know, this is the kind of thing when you look at the points, Jason. Oh, CJ LaRoche.
He went down. He was, I believe, Greg, he was almost in a point-paying position with CJ also, so he was getting close. Look at Aguilar just trying to go straight to the inside there, looking for a way through. And there's some guys here we haven't got to see that much this year in this little group, like Daytona Anderson and Miles Thornton. Good to see those guys kind of on the back end of this. Michael Gilbert as well.
Through the chicane they go. Looks like Aguilar's bike just a little bit more upset when he's making those transitions. And Nick McFadden, you know, Jason, in looking at our top 8 in points, you have JD Beach, Hayden Gillen, Valentin the Bees, Bryce Prince. You have Nick McFadden in 5th, Corey West, Richie Escalante, and Braden Nort. Mazziato right there, he's actually in 9th. But in the top 8, with Nick McFadden literally wedged in there in 5th spot, he's the only one of those 8 riders that has not scored a podium finish. He's been very consistent this year, but he just hasn't been able to make that one move to get himself on the podium. His best finish, Nick McFadden 4th. He's done that 3 times this season. Oh, and Jason Aguilar getting really chippy right now.
He's trying, isn't he? You know, I think Jason, he's kind of routinely, we've seen him come through the pack this year. Like maybe his starts haven't been the best. And I feel like he thinks he's probably got some pace if he can get through. He's going to have to deal with Nick McFadden here in a minute. And Corey West is also on the back.
Jason Aguilar, of course, our Stock 600 national champion from last year, moving up to the Supersport classes. That class was kind of, the 2 classes were melded into each other. You know, if you watched Supersport last year, you got to keep in mind that the rules changed, kind of merged Stock 600 and Supersport. So it took a little bit away from Supersport and gave the Super Stock 600. And, you know, what the times that these front runners have been able to do compared to the times from last year is incredible on Supersport machines that aren't quite as sophisticated as they were last year. Battle for 4th spot, we're watching right now. Anthony Mazziato III leads the way, and it's an accordion effect. We've seen it before, Jason, where they get close to Anthony Mazziato, and then he pulls out a little bit of a gap. Corey West, after being passed by Nick McFadden, doesn't look to be bothered too much by that.
Well, at one point, Corey was 5th on our screen. Look at JD now has pulled out that gap, Greg. And this is kind of what's been happening to Hayden all year. He just has that one guy he's got to beat when he finishes in 2nd, and they just kind of get out to a spot. And now when I start looking at the splits and things, JD's done exactly what we kind of expected. He had a tough weekend so far this year, and you can see him come up over the top of the hill. And if you remember yesterday, that bike was backed in quite a bit more than it was in that particular shot we just had there. Our bike was much more in line coming up over the top of the hill there. And JD's just doing what he does best. He's just got his head down at the front. And 44.8 that last time by, only 2 tenths off his fastest.
See the Dunlop tire selection for JD Beach as he continues to lead the way in this one. 3 laps to go, a shortened race. If you're just joining us, red flag conditions. Took us from a 16-lap scheduled race down to 12 laps. Back to the battle for 4th spot. Aguilar going right around Anthony Mazziato. Perfect timing by our director to get us right back into the battle for 4th as we see Jason Aguilar make that aggressive pass, and he'll take over 4th for the moment. Still so much racing to go for these 3, and Corey West.
Yeah, Corey West was able to do something with Nick McFadden as well. So a good step forward for, I think a really good step forward for Mazziato and Corey West this weekend. That both those guys were struggling a little bit coming in, and they both made some setup changes today that have made a big difference for them. But you can see, I thought Aguilar might have a little pace, but it doesn't look like he's just jumping away from these guys. Oh, such a big, Mazziato did such a good job to get that bike slowed down.
Oh, Aguilar, he just went off the circuit for a second. Just a moment, and I almost thought it was going to be disaster.
Yep, in that mud again, right?
Yeah. His front wheel just dropped off. Whoops, something on the track right there.
I noticed that a lap earlier. Let's see if Mazziato can get close enough and get in the draft of Aguilar as they come down into turn number 1 here.
So for Nick McFadden, deep into the race as well. Again, a crash on Friday. McFadden still sore. Continue to rage on in this battle.
Yep, and it looked like even behind
Mazziato there.
He's trying.
But he didn't quite get the drive over the hill, and so Corey West is going to try to take that spot. So that kind of started a couple corners ago for Mazziato.
Yep. All right, Mauricio Roque is down somewhere, Greg. Not sure where.
Ooh, right
there.
there
You go. So that's going up over the top of the hill. That bike's in a little bit of a precarious position, too, right on the edge of the racetrack. See if any of the corner workers can get to that bike. You'll see here in a minute. Yeah, it's red flag. I saw
red
Corey
flag.
kick his leg out. So let's see what happens here. He's got some body work, Greg, that's already coming off his bike. So he's gonna fling it back to the left, and it's just really weird. I almost want to say the body work had something to do with that, but it just looked like it was dragging on the ground.
Yeah.
It could just be got on the gas and flung himself.
Body work. Maybe the shift. Maybe he got an extra shift down there.
Could have been.
It's a lot of speculation on our part, and we don't have the answer, that's for sure.
Yep.
At least he's up and okay.
He's okay, yeah.
So with this red flag situation with 2 to go on this one, it's probably going to put a pin in it.
Yep.
We're going to have to see if they revert back to the full lap, because for sure JD Beach, if we wrap this up, it's a race official. We got it. So JD Beach will win this one. Hayden Gillim in 2nd spot. Bryce Prince in 3rd.
You see Hayden looking down at his front tire, like almost like he just didn't have as much feel as he had before. But great run by JD Beach. Great win for him. Extends his point lead to, 98 I think it is now, Greg? You said it was 100 coming in, 93 going into this race.
That's right. So 5 points the difference from 1st to 2nd.
The championship rolls on to Jersey.
Sure does.
And Bryce Prince, great weekend. Consecutive podiums back-to-back for him.
Really, some eyes really have to turn to Bryce Prince now and say, wow. I mean, at a racetrack that you would think is a rider's racetrack, meaning there's no big horsepower advantages here or some of the other things that we see. It's really a lot about setup in the rider that Bryce Prince is able to run the pace, no question. I'm sure a lot of people are saying, man, I wish Bryce could run this pace.
Valentin. So
there's Valentin to be.
Great to see him up, moving. Obviously, they would have red flagged the race had he been in a bad way, but for sure, I know he hit his head, and I'm just happy to see that guy up and walking and okay.
So Valentin DeBees, an exit today after a race win yesterday for the M4X Star Suzuki team. Nobody really, at this point, the result isn't really the concern. The concern is, how is Valentin DeBees?
Yep.
Because he is up walking around, so physically we know he's okay, but he did take a big hit on his head.
He just loses the rear going in. That's that recoil. When your feet and your body leads your head, and you can see that his head, once he hit the ground, was pretty limp there, Greg. And so that initial smack on the back of the head, and you can see him sitting down. He's just going to wait for a ride. No reason for him to be up walking around. So, you know, they'll have a good look at Valentin. And he's got a couple of weeks, which is good.
So unusual for Valentin.
I was just going to say that. We don't see him ever fall.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Bein Sports. When we come back to Pit Race, we're going to get to Hannah and Victory Circle and find out how it was for Beach, Gillim, and Prince. Chase for the #1 plate in MotoAmerica Supersport continues to rage on as we did some math there, Jason, like you're talking about. 98 points now, the separation from JD Beach to Hayden Gillim. But a very interesting race, no question. And for Bryce Prince, another podium finish. He's with Hannah.
Back-to-back third-place finishes for you this weekend, Bryce. You know, tell us about your race. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, you know, we got off to a good start this time. Got past Richie on the first lap, and I was right there with the leaders, a little closer than yesterday. You know, we were running, the pace felt a little bit slower. The track was a little greasy from the rain this morning, and, you know, I don't think my setup was quite as good towards the end of the race as it was yesterday, but I knew I had a podium in the bag and had probably a 15-second gap to the people behind me, so I just brought it home. You know, I didn't think I had the pace to run with the boys up front today, but to get 2 podiums in a row is awesome. I can't thank Riders Law enough for giving me this opportunity to come back out here with Kyle Wyman Racing and continue going on, and all the people that have been behind me this year has been off to a rough start, and it's finally be back up here where we belong.
Congrats. Thank you so much, Bryce.
Outstanding run for Bryce Prince. And, oh, by the way, Bryce, you'll be credited with the fastest lap of the race, a 144.588. There's something you can hold on to for the next 10 or 11 days before we get to our next race.
These are the kind of weekends that you build momentum on, and Bryce did just that.
All right, so let's get back down to Hannah with Hayden Gillum.
Hayden, had it not been for that red flag right there at the end, do you think you would have had a go at JD to take the win today?
I don't know. I was feeling good, and he was sliding into turn 3 or turn 2, whatever it is, at the top of the hill up there a few times, a little wide, and I thought maybe if he did it a couple more times I could get up there, but he was running really good, and God, I want to win. I just want to win. And, you know, 3 hole shots this weekend, coming from getting passed by the second row almost every single race this season, so that's pretty good for us. We got our heads held high, and it was a great race weekend for us.
All right, congratulations, Hayden. Thank you.
All right, so another podium finish for Hayden Gillum. That'll take him to 11
It's just not the spot that he wants.
No, no.
And he's just been there all year long, and he's exactly right. He was getting horrible starts at the beginning of the year, probably half the races that we started at the beginning of the year, and now he's able to get that bike off the line. That's a credit to his team and himself getting that thing sorted out.
Race fans treated to an awesome race. And Hannah is with our race winner, JD Beach. Hannah, his 10th of the season.
Yeah, and we got the JD Beach fan club down here for sure. Good to see a lot of support for him. JD, how are you able to refocus after making a mistake, missing the chicane there, in order to catch up to Hayden and eventually win the race?
Yeah, well, first, I mean, I hope the Beast is okay. That was a nasty crash, and I mean, my thoughts are with him. But yeah, I mean, the track was all green because I mean, the Junior Cup guys were out there after the rain, but I mean, it was still kind of slick, and I just kept missing my mark going into the chicane, and I was finally kind of. I decided to slow down a little bit going into there, and I think Hayden was catching me a lot there, but I mean, I was just trying to give it up. But yeah, I mean, it was a great race, and I mean, I know Hayden wants to get a win, and I was really hoping that race would go down to the last lap and race with Hayden, because he's been doing some good passes, and I think it would have been a ton of fun. But I think Jersey's going to be real good.
Thanks, JD. Congrats.
Fireworks at New Jersey, says JD Beach. It's going to be fun to watch the next one right here on beIN Sports. But congratulations to JD on the season. Jason Pridmore, we've had 13 Supersport races, and he's only been off the box once. That was yesterday. 10 wins, 2 second-place finishes, and a 98-point lead in the championship for the guy from Philpott, Kentucky.
And just does his future hopes maybe a little bit of good as well, you know.